All right. Well, let's hear from Sachiaki. So, Sachiaki, you have the floor.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for inviting me to speak at this wonderful Ikigai Summit. I'm very honored and very excited about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Sachi.
So I suppose because Ikigai has so many different definitions and maybe different people perceive what Ikigai is, but I think when you look at the Ikigai, there's kind of personal level and collective level. And I think in Japan, as a sort of collective sort of society, I don't think personal Ikigai is valued so much. Or we we're not really allowed to have pleasures and things in life so much. For example, I mean, that's how I was taught. That's how I was kind of brought up in schools and maybe workplace and everything. It's more like we are here to serve. We're here to serve the community, to help if you work for the company, maybe to help building the company. And if you're in the school, maybe you are here to learn as a member of the group to become constructive or useful in the entire school, or because you are a student, so you want to become a good adult to serve the community or the country and so on. So in many ways, the personal pleasures or kind of even joys not regarded to be something important. I mean, you can probably have pleasures, but it's not the main focus of our education or our working thing. So yeah, in Japan, it is true that somehow Ikigai is not valued so much, in spite of the fact that Ikigai is a Japanese concept and many people do have Ikigai. As a society, it's not something we kind of focus on. So in other words, kind of Ikigai is the taking advantage by the establishment or by the kind of a body of organization, whether it is a school or the government or the company. Because if each person can find a small happiness in whatever you are doing, even though you are in a kind of oppressed situation, and then nobody will complain the oppressor because you look for the reason within yourself, or it's depending on your perception. And if you can feel happy about anything, then you'll be happy. But quite often, the problem may be in the structure of the organization, the way things are managed. And probably in the West, people are more willing to, criticize the government or the body. But in Japan, sort of, we try to find the answers within our own feeling and so on. Yeah. But it's one aspect of the Japanese culture. I don't personally feel many people are depressed or oppressed. I know a lot of people who are happy, a lot of people who have daily joys and pleasures in their life, and some of them have even bigger life goals and missions and they're very excited and feel motivated to live. So there are plenty of Ikigai, but as a society, yeah, I think it is true that we don't seem to value the pursuit of personal Ikigai so much as a society.
Do you think for some Japanese, because they might have a very hard lifestyle and they work long hours or they have loneliness, that their Ikigai source is a coping mechanism and it helps them, it helps them get through life rather than it makes their life worth living? Because I sometimes have that impression. And so that's sort of slightly different to what we generally perceive Ikigai to be, a coping mechanism rather than something that makes your life worth living.
Yeah, I think coping mechanism is quite big, I think. But it has a both positive and negative side. If it is practiced in a personal level, like you choose to feel this way, it becomes a very positive. But when this concept is kind of forced upon from a kind of a establishment or from a body of organization to the members of that organization, and it becomes more like a control.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. I guess the one tiny bit I'd want to add to it is the most individualistic people I've ever met are Japanese. And that's because in a society with such a high degree of social structure, somebody who says, "Jibun no yaritai koto yaritai," I'm going to do what I want to do. Where I come from, that's common sense. Nobody says that. In Japan, you do have to say it. And those who insist on it often really do make their own fairly unique paths. So it's quite remarkable how people can find happiness by not being within those social structures sometimes.
I don't know if that person who says like, I want to do what I want to do might be 1 out of 100 people or something. I don't know. Like, and then they, those people stands out because all the other people are like following what the rule is and, following what.
But
yeah.
the thing is, in Japan, Shinichi, you can do it. I mean, one very good friend of mine who is an utter individualist, living his own life the way he wants to live, told me, Japan's a wonderful place. I mean, I can do what I want to do, and I've never starved to death. That's kind of cool too.
Yeah, that's true.